Chrysler power to the mid-year deals and games under £20 PSN sales. Now you may notice something a bit different. Yeah, I'm dying a bit at the moment. And I'm missing the Euros as well, so I make sacrifices for you guys. I hope you appreciate it. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the video and England will be 5 goals down by the time I get back to the game. Now after the car crash there was the PS Plus exclusive sale, we're back to normal. This sale is huge and there's some really good games in it and I found some really cool ones for you to check out. So if you like finding cool new games to play and saving a lot of money, then you're welcome here anytime. Don't forget to subscribe. Now this sale ends on the 3rd of July, so that'll be your last day to pick up these deals. Let's look at the games. First up, we have Battlefield 1 Revolution. It was released in 2017, so it's 7 years old, and it's on a 90% discount for the low price of £3.29, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a pretty good deal, as this game comes with over £30 worth of DLC, including 4 themed expansion packs of maps, weapons, and more. So it may not be the best Battlefield game, but you are getting the best version of it, which is really great. This first-person shooter has a campaign set in World War I and tells 6 war stories for a more varied gameplay experience than normal, and it also features 64-player online multiplayer, which is probably dead right now, so don't bet too much on that. But hey, it is nice to see that they went a bit different with the campaign, and it did get good reviews for the campaign. They're supposed to be really emotional stories, so rather than having one big campaign that follows through a unified story, you have 6 individual stories covering different aspects or different areas in the war, with emotional stories woven throughout. It was a bit hit or miss when it came out. Some people really loved it and some people really hated it. The ones that didn't like it said the story was all emotional and there was no real meaning or anything to it. But hey, if you just like first-person shooters and you want something with a bit of story in it, then you might really enjoy this. At this price, you're not risking much, so if you're interested, it might be worth checking out. And hey, if you've never played a first-person shooter before, then I wouldn't recommend starting here. This isn't even the best one in the franchise, and it isn't even one of the best franchises around, so you're much better off starting with many of the other options. You have so many choices in this genre that the world's your oyster really. And don't worry, I'll let you know when there's more on sale next. Our next game is Black Clover Quartet Knights Deluxe Edition. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old, and it's on an 87% discount for the price of £6.88, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it for non-PS Plus users. So if you don't have PS Plus, it's a really good deal, especially as this edition includes the Season Pass, with 3 content packs worth over £12, which is really great value. This third-person action game has an exclusive story the fans of the show will love. You play as Astra with his friends who take part in 4v4 team battles, playing as a fighter, healer, and support, all ranged while working together to win the battle. Now I'm not really that familiar with Black Clover, but this promises to be really good for fans, and the game looks pretty good. So if you're a fan of the show and you like third-person action games, you should definitely check it out. But if you're not a fan of the show, then this is a pretty good deal. Usually anime games are really expensive, and you pay a lot because of the licensing and that involved. But hey, this is a pretty good deal. So if you're a fan of third-person action games, and you don't mind it being an anime game, then you might want to check it out. It looks like it's a lot of fun, and you might really enjoy it. And hey, if you've never played a third-person action game before, then I wouldn't recommend starting here. Not only can you get other games cheaper, but you can get much bigger AAA ones from legendary franchises cheaper as well. So you're probably better off starting with one of them. Unless you're really into anime, then you might want to pick this up anyway. But if not, don't forget to check the next sale, and I'll let you know if there's other games worth picking up instead. We have another anime game next, Conception Plus Maidens of the 12 Stars. It was released in 2019, so it's 5 years old, and it's on an 85% discount for the price of £7.49, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal, especially for an anime licensed game. In this RPG, you are transported to the world of Granvia, where you have been dubbed God's gift, who must save the world from evil with your star children, born from the 12 Star Maidens, by strengthening your bond with them. Yep, that definitely sounds like a very anime storyline. But hey, RPGs are really good, and Japan's the home of them. So if you're into Japanese RPGs, and you like anime, and you don't mind the story being very anime, then you might really enjoy this. It's got great reviews, and it looks like a really good game, with unique mechanics and a different idea than normal, which is great. That's why Japan games are so popular. They like thinking outside the box, and they don't always hit the target, but hey, at least they try. So if you're a fan of RPGs and you're looking for something a bit different, you might want to check this out. As long as you're not against anime in general, then there's probably something you'll like in this game, so why not check it out? And hey, if you've never played an RPG before, then I wouldn't recommend starting here. You can get other games cheaper than this, and especially ones from AAA series of legendary franchises as well, so you're much better off starting with one of them instead, unless you're really into this game, in which case knock yourself out. But if not, don't forget to come back for another sale, and then you won't miss out when they're on sale next. Oh look, another RPG. Disjunction Digital Deluxe Edition. It was released in 2021, so it's 3 years old, and it's on an 88% discount for the price of £1.79, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it. A fantastically low price for such a cool looking game. And the deluxe edition even includes 7 avatars, and the soundtrack as well, so you don't get any game content, but at least you get some extras, and the soundtrack might be cool if you're into the music. In this RPG, it's set in a tech-noir 2048 New York City, where an insidious drug spreads through the city and prominent community leaders are arrested. You get to play as 3 citizens who rise up to uncover the truth and solve this injustice forever. It features meaningful story choices, and it promises that you'll really enjoy the story because of that. Now, a lot of games make that promise, and not all of them follow through on it. They're usually pretty simplistic and watered down, and I don't know about this one, I haven't played it myself, but it's got rave reviews and it looks really good. If they didn't deliver on it, I think the reviews would be bad, and it wouldn't have been as well received as it is. So if you're into your 16-bit retro games, and you like a bit of story, or really complexity to the game, then you'll probably really enjoy this. It looks very different and unique, and at this price, you can't go far wrong really. It looks like a really cool and interesting game, at a really good deal, so why not take a look? And hey, if you've never played an RPG before, then I wouldn't recommend starting here. It's a really good game at a really good price, but it is very different compared to the normal RPGs, and also it's not from a massive franchise. It's so cheap you could pick it up if you're really interested, but there are bigger AAA games you can get for not much more as well. So either way, there's no real bad decision with this one. But if you're not interested, I got you covered, and I'll let you know what's worth picking up in the next sale instead. Up next is my star buy. Doom 3 VR Edition. It was released in 2021, so it's 3 years old, and it's on a 75% discount for the low price of £3.99, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really good deal, especially for a VR game of this quality from a legendary franchise. And it even includes both the DLC expansions, Resurrection of Evil, and the Lost Mission, so again the complete version of the game, fully in VR, which you can't ask for anything more, that's amazing. In this VR first-person shooter, it has aim controller support, which is amazing. If you don't know what that is, aim controller is the assault rifle controller for PSVR, the best VR controller ever made. No one talks about it, but it's amazing. It literally gives you a physical assault rifle to hold with all of the controls on, and it tracks the aiming and everything. If you ever play a first-person shooter with it, it's the best way to play first-person shooters, hands down. It's a supreme experience, it really is. Well worth picking up if you see one cheap. I have one, so I'm really tempted by this because any game that includes support for it is great in my book. Now in this game, a demonic invasion has overwhelmed the Union Aerospace Corporation's Martian research facility, and as one of the few surviving Marines with an arsenal of deadly weapons, you must fight your way to Hell and stop the invasion from Hell itself, which is just as cool as it sounds. Now the Doom series is pretty amazing these days, the reboot's really good and well worth playing, and the originals are very dated these days, so if you're not into retro games I wouldn't recommend them. But this third one is really quite modern still, and it's a lot of fun to play, and especially in VR, there's not a lot of full games in VR, and this is a complete port to VR, so the whole game is available. You can't really ask for much more. If you've got a PSVR 1 and you like first person shooters, or you're a fan of Doom, or you've got an aim controller, you should definitely take a look at this. At this price you can't go far wrong, and it's an amazing game at a really good deal. Like I said, it's my star buy. It's well worth your time and money, I promise. And hey, if you've never played a VR FPS before, then I would recommend this one. Pretty much the only reason I wouldn't is if you're not a fan of horror or gore, because in VR you're going to see that right up close, and it's going to scare the pants off you. But hey, if you like the idea of that, then that's just a bonus, right? Either way, this is a great place to start, so if you like the look of it, definitely check it out. It's well worth buying, I promise. And on a side note, the reboot Doom is also on sale for £3.19 with an 80% discount if you're interested in that as well. Although it's not in VR, keep that in mind. We have a racer next, MotoGP 22, PS4 and PS5. It was released in 22, obviously, so it's 2 years old, and it's on an 85% discount for the price of £5.24, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a pretty good deal. In this racing game, you get to play the entire 2022 season, with more than 120 riders, over 20 official circuits, and over 70 historic champions to relive the history of MotoGP with. Now, there's not that many bike racing games around, and not all of them have an official license, so if you're interested in a specific sport, then you don't have many options. You usually just have to pick up the official game of that. So if you're interested in bike racing in general, or MotoGP, then this is a really good deal for you. Pretty much the only reason I wouldn't recommend it is if you're into the newer seasons or content, and you don't like that it's an older game. But if that doesn't bother you, you're getting a lot of game for your money, so it's well worth picking up if you like the look of it. And hey, if you've never played a racing game before, then if you're interested in motorbike racing and MotoGP, then this is a really good place to start. You're getting a lot of content for your money, and it's at a pretty decent price. So if you're interested in that license, then you might want to check this out, or maybe even one of the older ones that are way cheaper as well. It's up to you really, but it is worth being semi-recent to get some of the newer features, which are usually nice. Oh look, another bike racer, Ride 3 Gold Edition. It was released in 2018, so it's 6 years old, and it's on a 90% discount for the price of $5.99, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal, as this edition includes a ton of DLC. There adds 65 new bikes, 135 events, 2 volumes, a credits multiplier, and dynamic Ducati Panigale V4 theme as well, which is pretty cool. In this racer, you get to race on over 30 tracks all over the world on more than 230 bikes. It features a new volume career mode with the freedom to choose from the best bikes of the most famous manufacturers, which is really cool. Fans of motorbikes will really enjoy the variety and amount of bikes that are included in this game. So if you're into racing games, and especially bike racing, or you just want something a bit different, you might want to take a look at this. It's got a huge amount of bikes and content included, and it'll be a lot of fun for you if you like racing games, or you're just into bike racing as well. Either way, if you like the sound of it, why not check it out? It looks like a really good game, especially at this price. And hey, if you've never played a racer before, then I'm not sure I'd recommend starting here. You can get other bike racers cheaper, although this does have a lot of content included for your money, so if you're particularly interested in bike races, you might want to check this out anyway. So if that piqued your interest, then why not check it out? We have a dungeon crawler next, Soundfall. It was released in 2022, so it's only 2 years old, and it's on at least an 80% discount for the price of £4.99 or £3.74 with PS Plus, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really good deal for a really cool and interesting looking game. In this dungeon crawler, you get to play as a musical genius who's transported to the world of Symphonia, where you now have to battle to eradicate the Discordians with magical musical instruments to restore harmony to the world. It features 5 characters to play as, and 4-player local and online co-op as well, which is really great. This is a great game to play with mates. Now, this story sounds a bit like Captain N the Game Master, and if you grew up in the golden age of kids TV, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll get the premise straight away. And if you've never heard of Captain N the Game Master, then go back and get yourself a proper childhood, because you clearly never had one. Anyway, this game looks really cool and interesting. Dungeon crawling games are very unique and very niche these days. You don't see a lot of them. And this looks like a really cool and interesting spin on the genre. It definitely gives vibes of, kids' cartoon superhero show. And that's a really good thing. From the golden age, there was a lot of series based on things like this. It looks like a really high quality game. So if you're into music or you're into dungeon crawlers, you should definitely take a look at this. Especially if you've got a group of friends you like playing games with, or you like playing games at parties, or with your partner or a kid. This is a really good game for parties and that sort of thing as well. I've got a good gut feeling about this one. If you like dungeon crawlers or you like the look of the theme, why not check it out? I think it'll be really worth your time. And hey, if you've never played a dungeon crawler before, then I would recommend starting with this one. It looks like a good high quality game, and it looks like it's got a really interesting theme with a cool spin on the genre. So if you're as interested as I am, then why not check it out? I think it might just be the best game you've played in ages. And the final game I have for you is Zanki Zero Last Beginning. It was released in 2019, so it's 5 years old, and it's on an 85% discount for the price of £7.49, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it, and a really great deal. It hasn't got another price drop in forever, and this looks like a really good deal. In this dungeon explorer, it's set in a post-apocalyptic world where you get to play as 8 clones who only live for 13 days, exploring the ruins and dungeons of a set of islands, but as your characters age, their abilities change as well, with each death bringing new possibilities for their next clone. Now, I really like the idea of this game. It got really good reviews and it seems to be really well liked. And I'm not surprised because the idea of the characters dying and then being cloned again, and with your abilities changing over time, but then resetting when they die, it's like a dream come true for dungeon explorers, because you get to try different builds and try different things each time they die, which is really cool. And it's quite a complicated and interesting story as well, which is nice. So if you're into old school dungeon explorers, let's face it, there's not a lot of them around these days, and it's a very niche genre. But hey, if you like it, this looks like a really cool and interesting version of the genre. So if you like the sound of it as much as I do, why not check it out? I bet it's a really cool game for those that are interested in this genre. And hey, if you've never played a Dungeon Explorer before, because you didn't play old retro games, or because you don't delve into the more niche games these days, then I would recommend starting here. It's a really cool and interesting version of the game, and you don't have a lot to choose from in this genre either, so you might as well start with an interesting one, and then branch off to the more normal ones. Although the other ones are cheaper, so if that bothers you, then you can pick up one of the other ones instead. They'll definitely be cheaper. And don't worry, I'll definitely let you know when they're on sale next. And that's all the games I have for the mid-year deals and games under £20 PSN sales. What did you think of the games I picked? Did I pick good ones or did I pick bad ones? And what about the style buy? Did it deserve it? Or should some other game have got it instead? Leave all your comments down below and we can talk about it later. Anyway, I hope you guys found some cool new games to play, but more importantly I hope you saved a lot of money. I'll see you guys in the next sale. Au revoir.